Hey everybody, live again with another one. Today, this is Brad Linder coloring Dr. Fate from DC Comics. And I'm going to share this over with the page real quick and with Facebook as well as YouTube. So we can do that. And then I'm going to knock this sucker out. Bear with me a second. It's taking a little bit. There we go. Cool deal. All right. Now we'll share it over where everybody can see and all that good stuff. And hey, Tim, glad you made it, man. No. And I believe Ted's on with this too. That's pretty cool. Thanks for hanging out with me. As you see the camera pulsing, I just adjusted everything. So it's realigning, so it'll quit that in a minute. But I'm going to start in with the old blue here. I'm going to lay this on pretty thick for this light blue. I know it's really light in comparison to what he's supposed to be, but I'm going to be doing some highlights and shading and stuff, so this one's going to be pretty intense. It's not going to be just one layer. I'm going to build this one up a little bit today. But yeah, I've been knocking some stuff out here lately. With the podcast coming up, you know, a double podcast coming up, because I'm running 2 shows now. I'm still doing the Creating Comics, which you're watching now, and I'm going to move into how to draw comics within the Creating Comics field. So we're going to have that coming up here pretty quick, and lots of different things going on. And then that's just the comic book side of my work, not the marketing side. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is putting out the Night of the Living Dead webcomic. That's going to go live for you guys this week, and I'm not sure what day it's going to hit yet because I've got another page and a half to color and ink touch up. So I think I'm going to be able to hit that probably by Thursday, if not Friday at the latest, and I'm hoping to get that knocked out to where I can get it out for you guys pretty quick, because like I said, I'm coloring and inking on that right now. I had to postpone it a little bit because of the fact that I was doing some other work on other titles and, you know, projects coming up and all that good stuff. And then this stuff that I actually do during the day, which is marketing and consulting, I had to build up some of that. But I'm laying in my base coats here first off so that we have all of this down. And then I'm going to go in and put in the highlights by actually shading down instead of building up. Most people will put in a middle ground shading color, and they'll put down, you know, like a primary middle ground, and it'll be kind of a neutral in the middle. I like to go high end first and then darken up from there, because it gives it a natural seat that it doesn't give it otherwise. And I just want to give it that kind of contrasting build up, which a lot of people don't do anymore, especially with digital, you know, coloring and stuff like that. They just don't go in and put down hard, true colors anymore to enjoy. Everybody's trying to make it look as fluid and realistic as possible, and I'm trying to get away from that and get down into making the line work be what holds up the meat and potatoes of the plate, as it were, on the comic book front. So, because the 80s, the 70s and 80s, especially the early 80s, the 78 to about 84, man, it wasn't about stylized stuff. It was about company style then. And everything had a distinct look, and everybody tried to design based off the same comic principle, and everybody tried to make it look the same way throughout the entire book, as it were, to make the character look as close as possible to every time someone drew it. They made it look like seriously, intensely that character. And I believe even in the modern age of comics with the stylized stuff, like everybody has a unique style and voice that they have, I think that's even more grounds and premise to go backward a little bit and ease off some of this stuff and get back into basic comics to where we can build this stuff out and really enjoy it and make some consistency, making, you know, good stories, making good artwork and stuff that makes it resonate to the fans like it used to. Because there's so many stylized things now. A lot of people are just buying for the artist and creator and not buying for, or the specific writer, depending on the writing style, instead of buying the comic in general because it's a uniform continuity piece. You know what I mean? And that's part of what I want to get back to with Firestorm Comics, is push something that's going to reach the general populace of comics, and you're going to like it, and you're going to like it because it's the quality of what we put into it versus the vantage point of necessarily just thriving on style for a win of a jacked up issue of a promoted comic book. It's getting to where it's almost gone to the point of we need to back up and revalue a lot of where we are and where we're going and what's out there by where we were, so we don't repeat history over and over. You know what I mean? Because that's the big thing that it's become now, is it's become a fad market, and instead of being a creative market for good storytelling and art. And I'm pushing away from that. And like I said, I want to get out of that racket because I want to get it back to the comics that, I read as a kid. And granted, things have evolved and things have changed. I'm not talking, change it back to 1950 and, mom and dad are fine lined and whatnot. I understand modern contemporary families, and I understand modern contemporary work and story and all of that. I'm not saying back that off. What I'm saying is get back to basics on the principles of making comics and make it about the fans getting the best continuity and story out of it, as well as artwork, without worrying about the styles and, these hodgepodge of infamous artists coming in and taking over the brand and, and making it all whips and change and flash and color, and to the point to where they don't even draw anymore. It's like I hear all the time, I'm a digital artist, I only draw on tablets and whatnot, and the thing looks like crap. And I'm calling it plain and simple as I see it. I'm calling it out. I'm tired of hiding behind it. And I'm all for holding up with a supporting the community and holding up with a positive attitude on comics, but something needs to be said, and we need to be honest with ourselves as creators and as fans, and we need to stop letting the fanboys, control the industry with what they want to gripe about on the internet. I'm sorry, but you can't complain about a guy that busts his butt drawing and you don't like it because of the fact that you can't draw yourself out of a wet paper bag, but yet you have an artistic eye to criticize that guy. I don't think so. And then the next level to that is, as a professional level, I see people ripping on each other all the time, and that's got to stop too. Truly, it's got to stop. I won't hardly go on digital webbing anymore because of the fact that they will flame you to death. Oh, you suck, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, really? What comic books have you put out? Oh, I put one out in 1982, and this is where it's at, and blah, blah, blah. Or you get the other side of the coin with the modern guys going, you old guys need to disappear. And then you get the other side of that coin there as well with the idiots that have never drawn a comic book in their life, but yet they want to judge you for drawing comics. I'm sorry. Who are you to tell me how that comic's been, If you make a best-selling comic book and you run, 150,000 copies for 6 months, then talk to me. Otherwise, you're just another guy in the tugboat trying to make it to shore of, the comic kingdom. So stop doing that. Build the industry up. Stop tearing it down. However, on the side note of that, I will say there's a contradiction there because of the fact that, we've got all these idiots that want to say, oh, I want $350 a page, but then they want to turn around and they want to complain about that when they can't get it because you get mad at them or won't work with them and hire when they want $350 a page, but yet they've never drawn a comic book before. If you draw a best-selling comic book, and you're up there in the top 100, hey, cool, no problem. Even if it's an independent, I don't care. It doesn't have to be for Marvel or DC. It just has to be a good selling comic. You know, it has to be a decent comic, and it has to look professional. But there's so many of these guys that say, "Whoa, that's not the way small press works." Small press works where you build up, you know, over time, and you build up a couple pages a year kind of thing. And I'm sorry, but if you draw one comic book every 3 months, every 6 months, every 9 months, every 12 months, if you put out quarterly on regular basis, that's fine. Okay, if you put out on a regular basis, that's fine. But if you put out, you know, where you're going in there and you don't put out a comic book for a year, and it's because it takes you 4 months to do 5 pages, you're in trouble. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you, you know, what you're asking for. And the standard price for that is, I love it, these guys come up with $350 a page. They heard online somewhere that $350 a page is the current rate. And I understand there's a couple of industry helpers coming out with website postings and surveys and, you know, all these listings and stuff of what the current market will hold and all that. And I'm cool with that. Fine, throw down some numbers if you think you can get them. But you better be quality enough to back them up. I mean, I'm sorry, that's exactly where it's at. Because otherwise you're going to hear crickets. Because people are going to know you're full of it. And that's exactly what I see on a daily basis. I mean, I get 20, 30, 40 offers a day, easy, that are just people asking me to hire them for my publishing company. And I'm like, you know, how many pages can you do in a week? How many pages can you do in a month? Can you do a standard comic book? Well, no, that's not the way the indie services work. That's not the way the indie market works. That's not the way small press works. You're full of it. It's not put out a book or put out a page and say you published a book. It's put out a book and show a page of what you published. You guys got it backwards. And I'm not going on a tangent here. I'm telling you from a logical standpoint of what the business is, because so many people are delusional about this and they don't understand the market because they think they've made a webcomic and they got a big deal and they do 3 to 5 pages a month for that webcomic. They think that's the same thing as doing a comic book, and it's not at all. It's not remotely close. Bear with me a second. I'm grabbing my flesh tone here so I can do in his ear. But, I mean, you guys got to get your head out of your butts on this deal, and you're wondering why you're starving in the industry. It's because you don't do any work. I'm sorry. Hey, Rich, glad you made it, man. Poe, thanks for coming on. If you guys are watching this later on YouTube when I post it, you'll know why I'm going at this, because I'm about to change gears in the market for comics and start seriously kicking some stuff out, including my comic Kickstarter podcast this week. That's why I'm doing this. And granted, don't get me wrong, I'm not against the industry, but, you know, I don't see Marvel hiring me in the near future, and I just don't see them working with me because I'm not in a third world country, for one thing, and I'm not afraid to say that because it's true. They don't hire very many American artists anymore, and they're downsizing all of their other artists out. So everybody's jumping over to DC because that's the mainstream industry standard now. And that's where it's all going to head. DC is about to be at the top, right underneath Image, because of the fact that DC won't hire from the outside either. You know, they don't want to hire any indie creators either, and it's gotten to where you can't get on with Image or Dark Horse or any of these places anymore unless you know someone and network your way in. Which, I'm sorry, that's the old Hollywood adage coming in, and I'm not for that. And I love this industry. I would never bash anybody, but I'll tell you flat out, I'm with the, you know, the modern age Image philosophy of, you know, screw Marvel. I don't need them. I don't need Diamond. You know, with the internet age, we don't need Diamond to monopolize the industry the way it is. And, you know, I've been griping about them for years, as the fact that I'm holding them accountable for the fact that they run a monopoly on the industry, and they use peers, i.e. your competition, to come in and judge your book and say, okay, well, we're carrying this publisher already. That's a good idea that they're submitting. So now we won't give up that. You know, we're going to say we've got a book coming out like that. We like that idea. So we're going to say we got a book coming out like that. Don't publish them or don't distribute them. And then Diamond goes, okay. And then Marvel and DC go back to their publishing houses, and they, you know, sit there and twiddle their thumbs and go, well, now we got to come up with this kind of idea. Where did you come up with that idea? Well, I had that idea and I submitted it to Diamond, and now, you know, my comic book's getting rejected. Well, guess what? Your comic's underground for 6 months, and they still have it. And they've stolen your idea mainstream. And then it looks like when you press your comic, it looks like it's, you know, a ripoff of that character or whatever. And it's just, it's hit a landmark, people. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm going all out here building comic books that people want to read. That's why I'm doing what I do. And this industry needs to seriously change. And hiding behind fear of Marvel and Diamond and DC has to stop. I mean, I'm not becoming a shock jock or anything like that, because, you know, you guys know me well enough. I don't do that. But what I'm saying is we have to wake up as indie and small press creators and get off our butts and start kicking it out and start competing against these guys and showing them that we have the real gusto to do what we say we're going to do, and fight them down and say the fans are coming for the comics that they're looking for out of these so many top, you know, 150 books that are out there. Everybody's looking to do different stuff, and they're creating, you know, new superhero comics as well as many other genres, and we need to. And that's a good thing, you know, because I have no intention with my Night of the Living Dead story. I have no intention of competing against The Walking Dead. I am all for it. I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead, and that will never change. I think it's going to be a great deal, and I'm going to leave that where it is. You know what I mean? I'm not coming after that. What I'm doing this for is because of the fact that I'm coming in to say, okay, comics are here. Comics have been here. The Marvel legacy's dead, except for on film. And, you know, their comics are getting worse and worse and worse. And they're still using it as a Disneyized mess, hodgepodge of stuff that used to be Marvel. And we need to see things come out to where comics are comics again and come back up. 1954 to 1958, there were over 50 publishers at any given time in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico that were pumping out books left and right. And I am one of those publishers that's about to make an announcement for that small press level, stepping up into the mainstream competition, because this is ridiculous that comics are dying because Marvel's shut down. I hear 90% of retailers are screaming right now because of the losses in the books that Diamond made them buy. Okay? They forced them to buy all these special covers and things. And then you had to buy like 50 copies of issue 1 of this new Avengers cover that's out right now, that new saga that's going on. I don't even know the name of it anymore because I don't read the thing. But it's come out to where you had to buy 50 copies of it to get the access to the next copy, or to the regular cover, or to this special cover kind of thing. And now, as soon as the issue 2 comes out, people are complaining about the losses because of the fact that they've bought so many covers, and now nobody will buy them because they saturated the market. Because with issue 2, you can buy as many of these special edition covers that you couldn't get the first month around. You can get as many as you want by buying one book or more now of issue 2. You can buy one copy of issue 2 and get as many number 1s as you want, because they overprinted them, because they force purchased. Now, excuse my sinuses and sniffles and stuff. The weather dropped again today. So, but that's where we're at right now with these things. It's just so strange seeing all this stuff come into play, and then everybody wanting to gripe about it, about how the market's choking itself. Well, you think about it. If Diamond produces a book, or Marvel produces a book, Marvel produces a book, and then forces Diamond to sell that book at so many copies per sale, and then Diamond goes in and pushes the book even further to where you can't get issue 2 if you don't buy so many of issue 1, or that variant cover if you can't buy so many issue 1, then you can't buy. So they're killing that stock. And then they kill the market value of the book instantly, so there's no collectability to it because of the mass production of the back order. And then when you finally get a hold of it, with issue 2 coming out, they choke it because of the fact that they turn around and put it into unlimited supply with issue 2. You can't do that. You kill the value of the market. The whole reason comics have a market value is because of the fact of limited run. You want to rebuild an instant, revalued, contained market for secondary comics in the comic industry? I tell you what, put your stuff out monthly, digitally, online, for sale. Only do prints in limited print-on-demand editions throughout that time that it's online for sale. Then, 90 days out, you take that issue down where you can only get it as part of the trade with number 3. Publish a trade. Publish a secondary issue so it didn't have the original cover with it on the digital copy. It's not going to have any value other than face value of what you got on the book anyway. So what you do is you collect up 3 or 4 of your digital issues and you make a traded select printed volume of your comic book as a traded paperback with more pages in it. So you have issues 1 through 4, 3, 4, or 5 selected in a print-on-demand high-order paperback, and you limit it by the cover you put on it in the edition, and you put extra stuff in it in that copy, and you say, okay, here's the deal. I've got this going. I've got book volume 1, trade, so-and-so comic book, and here's the cover. Here's the interior. Here's the special features of that copy of that book, that special edition. And then when you come out to a second printing, 6 months, 9 months down the line, you switch the cover and you switch the material inside and make it a second edition. That way you build the value because you use the classic novel first edition, second edition, 10th edition printing, and you'll get books that get valuable real quick. And then when you only do so many of them in that edition, say there's only 15,000 copies in that edition. Well, that's going to make it extremely valuable. It may not make it valuable up front for you, but you'll still be making digital comics all the way along. So everybody can pay, $1.50, $2.99, whatever you're going to pay to get the comic book. People don't think about this. And I'm only saying this because of the fact that I want to see you succeed. And we have to rebuild our industry to get rid of this cap and monopoly that Diamond has on everything. If you see my stained fingers there, I busted some ink yesterday. And I stained my hands. But anyway, I got asked about that just now, so I thought I'd say that as a side note. But yeah, this whole industry blow up thing, we need to stop this crap and just think about it and make good comics. You know what I mean? Mike Richardson said back in 98 or 99, the owner and publisher of Dark Horse Comics, you guys may know him. He created a little character called the Mask and many others. But anyway, he said many moons ago that we were going to have a digital age of comics. He said it's going to start getting online to where you have web comics, and then you're going to have digital magazines, and you're going to have digital comics, and you're going to have, eventually subscription services and all this stuff. And it's true. It's all here. It's been coming down the line for years. And as a internet marketer, as a digital marketer, I tell you hands down, this tech is here, okay? It's been here for 10 years, since 2005. So 12 years now, 13 years, right around in there. Well, guess what? Here's the thing. Now the technology has caught up with the ambition. So it's all there, folks. It's all there. Comixology is there for your subscription service and your digital comics. You can sell them through your direct website like Image does, like Todd McFarlane does through Image. You can sell print and direct sale, easy. You can sell digital and print, no problem. You can sell trades, no problem. There is absolutely no reason for this not to be an open market and not flood with comic books that are of quality. Let the people choose. Think about that one. So anyway, as a side note of that, I know I didn't give a story about Dr. Fate, but I did in the original video, and if you guys talk about it and check it out, and you have any questions about it or anything, that's awesome. But I'm telling you, man, this is one of those things. It's got to be stopped. It is so dead fast right now with the comic industry. We've got to stop blowing smoke and start producing comics and get away from the big two and stop letting them monopolize this thing and letting them use Diamond to do it. So it is the year of the independent all over again. And I'm going to be first one out of the wheelhouse this week with this Night of the Living Dead comic. And like I said, I hope you guys dig it. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope I didn't tick too many people off. If I did, I'm sorry. You have your right to your opinion just like I do mine. And it's time somebody starts speaking up, because Diamond has people so scared of the industry, and so does Marvel and the Disney Marvel run and the Warner Brothers DC run. We need to start looking at different options, because they're both dying. They are both one-leg dogs shot in the foot, and their good leg is the one that's bleeding out. So let's get it moving and start thinking about the revolution of comics. Like I said, I'm not getting on a soapbox. I'm not going shock jock. I'm still the same guy, normal, calm, and all that. It's just, it has to be said. I've seen too many things go on this week. It's got to be done. So with that said, we inherited this rock. You know how it works. Leave a better place than you got it for the next generation. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.